Peace, fam. Hope y'all having an amazing day. I know I am. So I want to talk to y'all about another topic of the day. We're going to talk about a few different things. This is really just going to be market conditions, more or less market conditions. When we talk about investing, you got to know about market conditions. So first and foremost, I would like to talk about the global reset that is going to occur. When I say global reset, I'm talking about a currency reset, because in 1971, we got off the gold standard. Nixon took us off the gold standard in like August 15th or so. And when we got off the gold standard, that's when the US dollar, all right, let me back up a little bit. In 1945, when the US won World War II, we decided to have there was a Bretton Woods convention that then said that the US dollar was the strongest currency in the world, and it would be, it was backed by gold. So it was as good as gold, and it was said to be as good as gold and to continue to be as good as gold. So what we did was we had this Bretton Woods convention and then said that, hey, we're going to link all of everyone else's currencies to the US dollar. All commodities like oil and all of that stuff that are sold overseas between China, Russia, Ukraine, all these different countries over there are going to use the US dollar, so that that's going to be good for them because it's as good as gold, right? U.S. dollar was as good as gold, and it's more accessible. Obviously, it's lighter, so on and so forth. But fast forward, 20 years. In 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard temporarily, he suspended all transactions that allowed dollars to be redeemable for gold. And that caused a little bit of an issue, because during that time, and I don't want to get into a whole history lesson with this, I just want to give some background to it, but definitely do your own research on this if it's something that interests you more, or maybe I'll do another video on it so I can get in a little more detail. But when we got off the gold standard, it was because too many countries were trying to redeem their dollars for gold, and we didn't have enough gold in Fort Knox or wherever the gold was. Countries knew that, so they caused the demand for it, and then they're like, you know what, let's just suspend all of that. So now we'll just give you dollars. So now there's dollars. Dollars are what's circulating. So fast forward another 50 years. So now in 2022, end of 2022 here, the dollar is now stronger than it's ever been, with inflation as high as it's been in like 40 years. So we obviously have some stuff going on, some issues. Cost of living keeps going up, inflation is going up, and we're not being able to buy as much as we used to. So the dollar is actually hurting a lot of other countries, because right now what's happening is the Fed is tightening policy. They're increasing the interest rate, the prime rate, which means all lending and borrowing is going to tighten or contract, because money's getting more expensive to borrow. Because from 2008, they dropped the prime rate down to near zero, like I think it was like 1/4%. So interest rates could be 3.5%, which is good. That's like pretty low. Like right now it's like at 7%, 6.5%. So what that means is every time you borrow money, the bank takes 6%. Okay, so that's what that means. I'll just say that for short. The two banks, the Fed takes their whatever the prime rate is, they take that percent, which is 3% or so now. No, it's like 4.25%. And then the banks that you're loaning from or borrowing from are taking whatever percentage on top of that. So if the prime rate is 4.25% and they're taking the interest rate is 7%, then obviously they're taking 3.5%. So anyway, that's just to get that out. So now that we got that part out of the way, it's important to realize that right now we're in a period of stagflation. Stagflation might sound a little tricky, but it's kind of exactly how it sounds. Stag means the economy's stagnant, as it has been. COVID and all of that stuff kind of slowed a lot of things down. But we also have inflation going on at the same time. So those are two phenomenons that don't typically happen together. Usually you have a stagnant economy, and what happens when you have a stagnant economy is the Fed likes to pump in some money artificially and do some quantitative easing, where they're able to pump in some money, and now that's going to allow people to buy in so that there's more money in the economy. So when there's more money in the economy, more spending happens, the velocity of money is able to flow. And that's what's good. When money flows, when I get paid, I take an Uber somewhere. The Uber goes somewhere and buys some food. Then the food puts it in the bank so he can pay his bills. That means the velocity of 3, meaning money gets around to 3 times. So that's good for the economy when money flows. If I get paid and I hold on to it, that's money out of the equation of the economy. So think of the economy working like this. I get paid, I pay someone else, they pay someone else, they buy goods and services, and then it goes around, right? But what happens is when someone gets paid, instead of it being in a circle, someone takes their savings and it goes in, puts it in a little burrow, if you will. They put their money, they bury it in their bank account, not accessible to the economy, even though the banks are borrowing it and lending it anyway. I disclose there. So stagflation is when we have 2 issues going on at the same time. So because we have inflation so high, that's why we have economic tightening that we do. And those things are creating an issue where something is going to give. Something is going to give. This is where typically you'll see the black swan event, like the 2008 was the Lehman Brothers crash, or the dot-com bubble. And there's always like something that leads to a crash, which wipes out enough liquidity for us to be able to come back to a healthy balance, a healthy economic activity, if you will. So now I want to talk about real assets and tie it in together. Watch how I tie this in together. So in the previous video, hopefully you watched that. If not, I'll put the link in the description. Real assets are the things that appreciate over time, like real assets. I'm not talking about currency. I'm not talking about just things that don't hold their value. I'm talking about stuff like real estate. I'm talking about the golds, the silver, the metals, right? The commodities, things that hold their value. The real assets. Okay, so what happens is when we have a fear, some sort of fear, whatever it is, like I said, black swan event, whatever causes fear in the economy, people will then flee to real assets. One of the most common assets they'll flee to is gold, because historically gold has always been money. Gold has always been money. So when the economy hits a dump, people buy up the gold. Gold sends for a spike. Well, gold will first tank like most other things, most other assets. And it's historically, you can go back and look on charts. You can go on TradingView and look at gold on the charts, and you'll see that 2020 it happened, 2008 it happened. Every time we have market issues, this tends to happen. People flee, the market crashes, people flee to gold, the price of gold increases because demand increases, and then eventually somewhere people start to sell off the highs, and then gold will stabilize, right? So gold and silver right now are extremely suppressed. I'm also very bullish on silver because 1, it's less expensive, so you can get more of it. 2, there's industrial application because it's used in solar panels and batteries and a lot of other technologies that we're leaning toward to more in the future. Now is the future. And the other thing people get into is real estate. Even though real estate's less liquid, but it's still a good long-term asset. Gold you can kind of get in and out of, and I don't recommend paper gold. I don't recommend ETF gold. If you don't hold it in your hand, it's not yours. Just when I say it's not yours, like if you buy into a gold ETF, something happens to that company, black swan event, they go under. What happens to your gold? It's not your gold. It's not your gold. The company goes bankrupt, it's not yours. Just like when I talk about crypto. If you don't own your private keys, if you have your crypto on an exchange, it's not yours. Just like what we've seen with FTX collapse. All those assets got froze, and that's it. Not yours, not your crypto, not your gold. If it's not in your hand, if it's not in your ledger or cold storage wallet, it's not yours. So the reason real assets are beneficial is because it doesn't matter what happens with the global reset. It doesn't matter what the next currency is, whether it's a gold-backed currency, whether it's a cryptocurrency, which is very likely because of how liquid it is, how quick you can send it. It's very fast and efficient. Very inexpensive. I don't know if I said that already, but yeah, that's why crypto has its potential. Not all cryptos. I'm not talking about the Bitcoins and Ethereums. I'm talking about other tokens. I'm not going to really disclose them here. But yeah, so no matter what, when you have real assets, it doesn't matter what the next currency is because you can always sell that for the current currency. No pun intended. Hopefully you got some value out of this concept. Kind of touched different things. I might break these down. I definitely will break these things down individually going forward. So yeah, hopefully you got some value. If you have any questions, drop them below. Send me a message. You can find me on Instagram at FreeToWest. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. More love, more light. Peace.